Hey everyone, so in this video we're just going to talk about the 6-star Toon Elle. She is one of the Toons that is on the Hell Wheel. I personally feel like she's a decently useful Toon for being a 6-star. She is one of the reasons why I was able to get through Nightmare Survival Road the last time. She paired well with my Yellow Mercer, and just the bide ability can be so powerful sometimes, especially when you know how to utilize it as well as how to maximize it. At this time, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more content and information. So with bide characters, there's currently 4 bide characters that are out. We have Elle, of course, we have Ryan, we have Cameron Scar, and we have Rosita. Now, obviously, the best bide Toon is Rosita because she's an S-class Toon. The next one I would say is Cameron Scar, followed by Elle with Ryan pulling up the rear. So Elle's rush is actually very useful. It's called Deceptive Mockery. It's a 76 AP rush, which is pretty normal. Her rush can remove focus from up to 3 enemies. Those enemies get taunt for 2 turns, and she gets elusive for 2 turns. Now this rush is actually super powerful. By being able to remove focus, it means that those Toons cannot ignore the effects of taunt or confuse, and they also cannot attack behind human shields. By also taunting these enemies into Elle, it'll help out her weapon, which I'll show a bit later on. She also applies elusive to herself, meaning that the enemy Toons cannot gain any AP off of her when they attack her. Now when we take a look at her specialist skill, I remember when Elle first came out, her specialist skill caused a lot of players a lot of grief because of how it worked in conjunction with her active skill. So bide basically can store damage. So for every 2,000 damage taken, which means minus 2,000 HP, she will unleash 150% of that damage, or 3,000. When she's used on defense, she can automatically trigger with the AI by swiping to the right on her, so defending, and unleashing her bide upon an unsuspecting attack Toon. Now the AI is smart enough to use this when there's enough bide to kill a Toon. So when Elle first came out, as I mentioned before, her active skill was very annoying for people. Being a turn 1 active skill, she ended up pain splitting with another Toon. This Toon would have been the one with the highest amount of HP. This active skill also applies 25% healing to both her and the teammate she's pain splitting with for 3 turns. Now, the problem that people were experiencing when Elle first came out was that whenever someone rushed on a Toon and part of the rush hit either Elle or the Toon she was pain splitting with, the damage would not be enough to actually kill her. Instead, it would trigger the bide effect and usually would kill your Toon, especially because in the 6-star days, most Toons on attack didn't have 3,000 HP to give up. The best way to kill a bide Toon is to either normalize them or you have to kill them in one attack. If you can kill a bide Toon in a single attack, the bide energy or damage will not be released onto your character. Elle is what I would call a nuisance Toon, because if she rushes, she forces enemies to attack her, but because her rush doesn't actually heal her, this could end up with Elle actually killing herself from taunting enemies into her. It's also a great way at triggering bide. Now, Elle usually has 30% defense on her weapon, and I can't remember if it's a medium bonus to AP when taking damage or not, but the 3rd slot is very unique. When being attacked, a 50% chance to gain 20% bonus HP. I personally went with continued defense on my Elle's weapon, but I think HP would be better just based on how bide actually functions and how bide Toons need to have a high amount of HP in order to trigger the bide effect. You usually want a relatively low defense on Elle and on other bide Toons because the more defense you have, the less damage you take. But that also means the less frequently your bide will actually store 2,000 damage and be able to release 3,000 upon the enemy. Elle's weapon is one way that Elle can keep healing herself. So even though her rush can't heal her, her weapon partially does. And I say partially because bonus HP can be ignored by effects like burn, bleed, hemobleed, as well as maim damage. If I ever had enough armory tokens and if I thought I could use Elle somewhere, I could end up 5-starring this weapon, but currently Elle is not making either my attack or my defense team. Otherwise, I might add on a healing factor to her weapon just so that she can heal other toons, including herself. With Elle, I have decided on HP set mods and a very defensive setup. I have defense versus strong, but I could do defense versus tough because there are lots of tough toons in the current meta. I have an HP mod because again, she needs to have high HP so that she can take damage from enemies and be able to reciprocate that damage back. I added some more defense just because of the S-class characters that are in the game. A reflect damage mod because if she's taunting characters into her, there should be a good chance of her being able to reflect some of that damage back and work in conjunction with her bide. Lastly, I have a confuse resist mod, and it's mostly just a mod to fill the set and something that is still useful. I don't have any stun resist mods, otherwise I would probably add that here. And even a defense down resist mod wouldn't be a bad idea, or a bleed resist mod on Elle, just because of the high HP that I've given her, and because one of the 2 ways to stop her bide is by killing her in a single attack. So if her defense is lowered enough, it'll be easier for the enemy to perform a high damage attack that kills her outright. So here's an example of a free-to-play team that I kind of just mocked together. I have a Leopo lead. Now this is only a 6-star Leopo. I know a lot of people probably have an S-class by now, seeing as she was one of the first S-class toons released. I like her because all melee toons, while as a 6-star, get 20% HP, 20% defense, and a huge bonus to AP when taking damage. Now, I like the when taking damage part because I have 2 characters on this defensive team that can taunt the enemy, and that includes Elle, who as we know is a bide toon, so the more damage that she takes, the more often her bide will go off. I have Maggie in as my commander because she's also a healer, so when she rushes, she's able to heal teammates. I have James as a free-to-play S-class toon, and he's my damage dealer on this team. Just to give a little bite back, I could replace James for another defensive character that maybe has some healing. This type of team would be ideal with one of those yellow healing weapons where every turn for each yellow toon on the team gain 10% HP to 2 teammates. If I had that on both Elle, Dr. Stevens, and Maggie, this team would be healing consistently. It would also open me up to the opportunity to run a toon like James, where I have some offensive threat in my defensive team. I also feel like Elle would do really well behind a Jackie leader, because Jackie can give 50% HP to all fast and alert toons, which, as we've mentioned, because Elle is a bide toon, the more HP she has, the better. The confuse from Jackie would also give Elle the chance to use her active skill on the first turn in order to pain split and heal with the highest HP teammate. And now we're just going to go through a little bit of film where I actually set up a Elle defense, the one I showed you, and I'm also going to run a somewhat free-to-play attack team. Now I'm counting Arav here as a free-to-play toon just because he's been available for a long time now in the S-class era. So I do feel like a lot of players have been able to get Arav, so I think it's a feasible team to use on offense, and I'm using Dr. Stevens as well because, as we've mentioned in another video, because of the Hellgate and everyone getting a choice box for a variety of different 5-star ascendables like Elle, like Dr. Stevens, and so on, I think it's realistic to do. As you see, the pain split with Elle there on defense ended up working against the team because I was able to kill both toons at once because my damage was high enough to take out both of them. You'll notice that throughout this match, my Elle keeps gaining bonus HP. She was also just able to rush, and she's applied a taunt to Leopo, who's attacked her. She has elusive, so Leopo isn't gaining any more AP, and it's hard to see only because Leopo's HP bar, or AP bar, sorry, is full. I can see that currently Elle's bide bar is almost all the way full, so Leopo has over 3,000 HP, so I know I'm not going to be able to kill her because the most amount of bide that I can release is 3,000, and that's an automatic trigger. So I was able to finish off that match with a little bit of help from my Elle's bide when facing off again against the same team, just to see how the team reacts differently every time you face it. I think it's kind of valuable to see kind of the different ways a match could actually go. We can see here that Elle ended up pain splitting with Leopo. So now with part of this, because of the huge bonus to AP when taking damage, if I attack Elle or Leopo, I'm going to be giving them a significant amount of AP that is more than usual. But again, the biggest downside with this pain split ability is when I have a toon like a Rav who's so powerful and able to take out both toons in a single hit. So please keep in mind that these defenses that I mock up are not always the best just because I don't have the opportunity to move mods around when it's not a mod removal, but it's just to give you guys kind of a general idea of how or where you can use Elle, as well as some of the shortcomings of using her. Like, I really do like the idea of using her potentially on an auto attack team just because of her rush being so effective, but I feel like she just doesn't output enough bide because at 3,000 damage every time her bide is triggered. But in the S-Class era, 3,000 damage is just not high enough to be really effective on an auto attack team. For new players, she's still a great asset, but where I'm playing in the game, I just can't find a use for her yet. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching and listening to my video.